The Wannabes Season 3, Episode 2. My name is JD.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy Wassabi and JD. It's been a while because of the big one, but I am excited to talk about it. But we're gonna try something new, right? Why don't you tell our lovely listeners what they should expect from this episode?
Yeah, I mean, the big one is the big one. I think the amount of crap we did in that 2, 3, 4 week span is going to take out a majority of the episode. Wassabi was in charge of 2 live shows throughout the broadcast. He also entered singles bracket. And of course, all the interviews and content he was in charge of. So that's a lot. And then on my end, I didn't enter bracket, but we both commentated as well. So we'll talk about that. Lead editor and the clip czar, all the back end stuff, just a shitload of content all week. We're going to talk probably a little bit about Summit because we can't not. We usually don't talk about the big tournaments, but like, come on. I mean,
it made us feel a certain way.
Yeah, yeah. We'd be lying if we were like, you know what, we're going to skip the flashy stuff. Like, no. We're talking about Summit 11. And you know, that brings us to our housekeeping, which I think we're going to start off with right now. If you will indulge me, we have some housekeeping for the first time in our entire podcast run. Most of it's the Patreon. So if you are patrons, shout outs to our patrons, Exile, Cypher, and Pilar for hooking us up with that first month boost. It's been really exciting to have the launch go fairly well, all thanks to you guys. But here's what we got on the Patreon this week. We're going to have an early episode of the Imperfect Protagonists with Wassabi, of course. I have a blog that's fully written, my entire reflections on the content side of the big one. That'll be going up this week as well. Our pre-episode talks for this episode and episode 1, that'll be going up. If you are listening to this on Wednesday, the 21st, we have an interview with Yingling later today. So if you want to get your questions in, do that on our Discord now. If you're not on our Discord, check the description, get in there and drop a few questions. But patrons, you get first dibs. Actually, no, patrons get only dibs on 1v1. So
for 1v1s they do. Yeah, I was gonna mention for 1v1s also, I will be interviewing J-Flex probably Thursday or Friday as well. So please send in questions for the big mans as well.
And we have 2 more coming up after J-Flex and Yingling. Those are the 2 we got this week. And still confirmed, but we're getting a time slot, are Toussaint and Moki. They attended Summit. So if you're interested in hearing what's going on there, if you have a specific question, get on that Patreon, throw a buck, and then get some questions up.
Yep. And the imperfect protagonist guest is Calvar. So we're going to be nerding out about, one of our favorite sports mangas and animes, Hajime no Ippo. So yeah, just keep an eye out for the early episode later this week.
Yeah, a lot of our Patreon was, I think dutifully ignored is a way to put it. We did not
dutifully ignored is a good one. Yeah,
we had no time to do some Patreon stuff. We had to launch it, and then we had to totally focus on the big one.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the stuff we're putting up this week. I'm really happy. This is all stuff that's just like pretty consistent for us. We don't even feel like we stepped up with the Patreon yet. And I still think we're getting some sick stuff up there, right?
Yeah, no, I'm super excited. I actually have to release some DMs as well that I have between me and my good friend Tiramisu, because I hit up Tiramisu before my top 64 bracket, before I faced off against Lucky and everything at the big one, because I was feeling really nervous, and he had some very insightful words. So I'll talk a little bit about it in this podcast, but I'll release the full DMs as well in the Patreon, because I know Max wouldn't mind as well. And truthfully, like, he did the same thing as he was like on the verge of breaking the Slay the Spire record. So it was really, really sweet. I probably will try to release both as well.
Oh yeah, and we have our own DMs that we just DM so much that I'm almost not trying to go back and find the one that we talked about releasing. But hey, if a single person out there asks for it, and it's going to be Cypher, if we're being honest.
Yep. Would put my savings on that. Would put my channel points on that.
Yeah, oh for sure. I'd put my 13K BTS one on that for sure. But yeah, well, we have a lot of cool stuff. We're just kind of our strategy with the Patreon. Just last thoughts are to just record a bit more of stuff we're already doing. If that's DMs, if that's pre-roll of what we're going to talk about the episode, and then blogs and writing. This is all stuff that we're kind of doing already, but we're making an extra effort to like clean it up, make it look nice, make the extra content. And I think if you're a patron, you're probably going to like it. That's my estimation.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, now that the big one's done, our focus is that and our weekly content pretty much. But yeah, super excited. I'm really happy with how the tiers turned out as well. Hopefully, we get a melee lesson in there as well as all the different tiers. So yeah, I'm excited for sure.
Me too. I'm excited just to talk because what a crazy, I'm going to say month, because it wasn't just maybe a month and a half even.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just the week of the big one, Rollback Rumble, the big one. It was the week before. It was the kind of month and a half before as well, though that was more just like setting the stage and kind of getting our bearings. And it wasn't really working that hard. It's just a few meetings. But then the 2 weeks after almost felt like, we need to talk about it too. I almost don't know where to start. Like where would you want to start, Will?
I'm actually curious on like let's work backwards because I remember like a lot of self-reflection from the experience and that sort of thing. And honestly, we haven't even I mean, we were so burnt and afterwards I didn't have like the energy or capacity or much to like even debrief with you after that like super hectic Sunday, if I had to be honest. So I think yeah, I'm curious on your thoughts. I know you put out the twit longer, which was really insightful and sweet, and I appreciated it. But yeah, like I think like it was interesting because I think it also put like our relationship to the test as well, both being kind of at full capacity and like handling like as much as we possibly could for like 2 weeks straight.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways to kind of tackle like the macro takeaway
Mhm.
type stuff. I mean, I pulled up the blog post that I'm going to be posting. My original thought
Mhm.
was maybe I'll do a video, but I don't really feel like it anymore. But there's a lot of stuff here that I'm really happy I wrote down immediately because these sort of things come and go. It was a whirlwind. It was an insane experience. It was so what's the word for it? It was so useful in learning about ourselves, but also just growing. And like, I literally felt like I leveled up at the end of it, even though I was battered and tired. Once I was able to catch up on sleep and kind of properly unwind and get back to homeostasis, I just feel like a more capable editor, TO, whatever. And it definitely put a lot to the test. I think the big thing I started with like right after was, again, kind of working backwards because at the end of that week I was just, I don't want to use the term burnt out because I don't think it really captures what was happening. I think it was more so um, at the end of my rope, and it was because of just a lot of sacrifices I was making in a row that things just started slipping, that the decisions I wanted to make for myself, for example, eating somewhat healthy and having exercise every other day, those were cut it was a mistake. And as the L's started piling up, um, a good metaphor I have for it was, the arc in Haikyuu where they're playing all the Tokyo teams and they're just getting their shit kicked in for like
Mhm.
their set count was what, like 2-40 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Just they barely got any real successes, and they were just, but they were like sticking in the game, and they were doing the punishments, and they were like all that stuff. It felt like that was my, as accurate as that may be, it kind of felt like that was my set count um over the course of a week. I just like made the mistake of giving myself too much work to do. I underestimated what my day job was going to expect of me. I underestimated how difficult it would be to do creative work and logistical work and flipping between them. And, they're all small mistakes, and the broadcast went off great because, we were really in charge of, we weren't in charge of the main course. We were in charge of like the dessert, the gravy. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't, if we came up short, it wasn't the biggest deal. Like the bracket would still happen, and that was the important part. But when you're in it, it doesn't feel that way, and so it was just a whole swirl of emotions, constantly in the thick of it, constantly trying to work it out. And at the end of it, I was kind of a sourpuss. I was complaining a lot. I had a call with Matt where I was staying up till like 2 a.m. I never stay up till 2 a.m. And
Yeah.
I was complaining about like Ludwig, like off topic shit, just like bitching about anything that came to my mind and indulging that part of myself for whatever reason. That's just, I'm almost more aware of the symptoms than the cause, but that was just what was happening. And it took a few days of like getting my sleep schedule back, not drinking as much caffeine anymore, and just, I think I slept 12 hours a day for three days straight, including naps. Like, just really needing my time back. And now I'm able to kind of realize what it was, and it was a very difficult project, high expectations, unreasonable expectations, and kind of an ego check. And that's the negative stuff. There's so much positive, and I'm sticking with the negative here because that was what it felt like immediately after. But that's my like overall first couple days out, like shit I was processing. That was the basis for the tweet thread of like, okay, here are my takeaways. This is why I was like,
Mhm.
I think this is why I was in such a negative headspace near the last couple days. I think these are the biggest mistakes I need to really grasp so I never make them again. And that's just kind of where I start. So let me throw it to you because we are going to go back and forth many, many times here.
Yeah, yeah. I'll focus on this because I think that was like the most shocking part on for my end. And I think it really, especially at the end, the way it made me feel as a friend and co-partner, which is why I really appreciated the post the next day, was like it was just a little grating for sure. And I think it's funny that you said that you like indulged it with Matt, who, funny enough, I eventually kicked out of the general voice channel because he was there for like 3 days straight. Like I think Matt didn't realize he was stuck in the voice channel
Yeah, yeah,
still.
yeah.
But it's funny that you mentioned that because I remember distinctly as Sunday rolled and I was like doing oh yeah, it was before we had to do all the editing for Meet the TOs and stuff like that. You were getting into that cycle again, the symptoms, and I like, and Ali will explain why afterwards I called you out on this. But I remember I was like, I think I told you like, yo, like this negativity, like all this thing, like I'm not vibing with it right now. Like, keep it. It's okay that you're feeling it, but like keep it to yourself, right? For right now, like, and I remember you saying like, oh, but like, you're like, what? Like I can't talk about it with like I can't just like voice my opinions with friends with a friend, and I'm like, and like in a very healthy boundary sort of way, I was like, no, not right now, JD.
Yeah. No,
And
that
and
was the
you're
right
like,
move.
okay, okay, fine, fine. And I was like, okay, cool. But the reason why I think, this is why I'm happy that we actually took a week off to kind of talk about it, and like I kept on pushing it back because I wasn't ready even to like, I was still unpacking like that sort of thing. Like I can't wait to get all the positive stuff because there's a lot to get into there for sure. But this one, specifically was like the big like hanger up until probably like last weekend or yesterday where we like actually played and started talking because like we took a little break from like us even talking last week to just kind of recover, which was kind of a first for us personally, unless it was like a holiday or something like that. And so it's interesting because for me, like I remember like it was just so interesting to watch as a observer, but also like to be part of it because some of the stuff we did was like as one unit, right? And so like and I know I talked about that with like the after show stuff. And I know you had like some comments there. And I think for me, like at the time, like on that Sunday and Monday, like the thing that I realized was that I am so happy for everything. Like one, like again, shout outs to the entire Big One TO team for giving us the opportunity. Like Jade, Nathan, Shiggles, Brandon, of course, Violence, Walk. Amazing job. Literally top three events of my life so far for Melee. And it was a virtual one. It was an online one, which is crazy. But I realize I'm really proud of everything I did. Like I think I did the most that I could do, and I'm actually happy with like how everything turned out. And this was like on top of like on the background like me cutting ties with my dad, switching numbers and like going through that, getting disowned for a hot minute by my mom who I'm still trying to have a relationship with, struggling with that. And so like a lot of like and to be able to like work on the big one and complete all of that while all of that is going on and my full-time job and being really happy with the end product of both the content and the interviews and the live shows and obviously the bracket as well. That was the icing on the cake. And I have more thoughts on that when we get to that specific topic. It's gonna be, I think that week, those 2 weeks are gonna be like, and I was talking this with my therapist, are like those that moment, those 2 weeks is like something that I will turn to for strength when I'm really down sometimes. Like that is an event that despite everything, like I can go to for strength when I need to. Like I will never forget that event for the stuff that I was doing. And for the first time, and I had a lot of struggle with this because of my family, is like this notion of like, did you do your best? Like after every report card or something, I'd be asked, like, did you do your best? And like as a kid, you're like, yeah, in hindsight, you can do your best, you can study more. But Beerman once said, as I was unpacking this with him as well, it's like doing your best and trying your best are two different things, you know, completely. And I for like this is like the big one was one of the few moments where I felt like I tried my best, which you have control over all the time. You can always try your best, but I actually also did the best I could, you know, and there was no doubt in my mind. And I think how you were reacting to it was very like it was grating because of it was kind of filling in the voice of like my family and my parents and bringing up that trauma when there was literally nothing outside of like your own reactions and your own trauma, which is totally understandable as well, right? But it was definitely bringing up those feelings because for the first time I was like, God damn it, JD, I would just want to be happy about this, and like, and and I understand your end of it, and I accept your feelings as well. So I'm happy that we just like put a boundary, took some time to kind of like rest and recuperate because but that was like the most interesting thing for me because like on my end, like I this is a like lifetime thing that I will like turn back to for strength for like those moments of like, man, when all the chips are down, I was still able to do this, you know? And I think it's such a precious memory already, and it's crazy to think it's only was like a week and a half ago.
That is so well. That's fucking amazing. Like hearing you go through that. Like I'm so happy that was your experience. And yeah, I just had a complete opposite, like 180 complete opposite. And
Hmm.
I think that one call we had where I was getting tight about like the size of the video for 2 seconds, and I was just like being very reactive.
Mhm.
Um, and I spoke to my therapist about this as well. It was just like neither of us were, you know, the term "don't go to bed angry."
Yeah.
I
Yep.
think I think that's bullshit because sometimes like sleeping it off, you realize that the anger is just because you're tired. It's like
Mhm.
it's kind of I think a complete wrong sentiment of like we could have sat there and hashed out every single thing, but it would have been unproductive and it just probably wouldn't have worked either.
Yeah.
So I think yeah, setting that boundary and be like, yo, not the time and all this stuff. That was all we could do, and it was fine. It didn't, you know, and we're here now, and we got a lot out of it. It was hard for me to realize that you were in such a good mindset and so proud of your week because we hardly had time to like really check in. It just wasn't
Oh yeah.
available to us. Like work
It
week
was
and all
all
the shit.
logistics,
Yeah, complete. Just like all right, here's the handoff.
all
Here's the blah blah
business.
blah.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the big disappointment on my end was not being able to properly execute the meet the TO stuff that I wanted to do, which, you know, there were some things where it was a little bit out of my control where the editor I was going to work with had a family emergency come up and he was taken out of commission. And so, like, there's all these things that came up. But truthfully, from the beginning, it was just me not understanding the process and not understanding what needs to be done and the it's less logistics that I learned and more like the technique of editing. And so I'm, you know, you look back, you're saying you're gonna look back at this as a source of strength. I'm gonna look back at this as a source of humility and be like, look, when I'm getting ready for another event, I need to remember all the shit here and understand that you don't give your I'm rewatching My Hero, you know, when he's talking about all for one and having that, you know, that glass, having that glass
Mhm.
full, you'd have no room for mobility. Like, yeah, you're technically holding all of it. Your capacity is technically big enough, but to do what? To no wiggle room at all. And that's what I did. I estimated, you know, maybe correctly of my full like 100% best case scenario capacity. But I was way off with the flexibility in the room, and so those little decisions I just kept. You know, it was maybe I didn't take 42 losses. Maybe that's a bad metaphor. It was more like I had 3 losses that I kept seeing. Like
Mhm.
I picked the wrong tires on my car, and I had to drive to work every day, and these tires were
Mm.
fucking every single day giving me issues. Like that one decision or few decisions that I had made just kept compounding and I kept having to face them and they never got resolved. And that's kind of what wore me down mentally at the end of the week. It is very interesting that, you know, hearing your side of it and hearing the positivity, I realized that like I had been projecting my experience onto everyone else I was speaking to. And like that is kind of natural, right? Like I think we all
Yeah.
do that. um I guess that was the dissonance that we had was like maybe you did the same to me that like, yo, JD, you did a lot of good shit. Like this was a good week for us. Like let's
I
enjoy.
tried. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't going to happen, of course, but like
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
that is kind of like the high pressure low pressure, and then it became a little tornado and it's like, all right, fuck, let's just bunker down and get the hell out of here
Mhm.
for a couple weeks. So I think we handled a lot of things well. So let's pivot here because um you know, you did speak about how your experience. I think overall as the Wannabes, we did a pretty great job. I'm happy with the output, especially because this was our first real attempt at this sort of thing.
Mhm.
Um, I'd love to hear your thoughts first because my thoughts are pretty tainted. I think from the editing side, I'm a little too close to the meet the players stuff to feel proud of it now. I've seen all of them 30 times at this point. Like
Mm.
I don't actually know the impact, how good they were, all that stuff. But what are your thoughts about the amount of things we were able to do just on the pre-recorded stuff, and then we'll talk about the live shows.
Yeah. 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 That sounds good. And I think the big thing for me about the like content that we did is like I think one, the editors did like an amazing job, yourself included, and I stand by that. I think like the coolest thing for me is that it was something, and I guess this is how I always view content, is that it was something that no other person has done for any event, till the end of time, till the genesis of Melee. And I think that was the really cool part, is that we were able to like really execute it. And like again, like Edwin, like saw the trailer and was like, holy shit, like this was amazing, right? Edwin from Melee Stats. Flex was sad that he wasn't part of it because we didn't have capacity to like get Flex in, and I'm like, I'm sorry about that, man. It's like, let's do a 1v1, but also like do that. Like Eddie Mexico had a lot of fun with it, wants to do a 1v1 for his Summit 12 campaign. I think it was hilarious that we got LSD and Aklo in, and our 100% success record. But more than anything, like I think that it was like it added a human aspect to to the production of the big one as a whole. And I think really that is like the essence of like what our podcast is. And we asked really good questions where we like had to make players think. Like I think back to like my interview with Polish took like 45 minutes to figure out his answers, and normally we have them do it off rip, but Polish asked nicely, so I said yes, of course, take the time to do it. But that's really it, right? Like, and I think that's the biggest thing. In the amount of players that we got, like Lucky responded. Like I did not believe that Lucky would respond. Like that was a last minute thing, and it's just really crazy that we were able to do that. But in the end of the day, people really enjoyed that. People really enjoyed Meet the TOs. And I know I was watching that final video, like even like SFAT chimed in on like in Twitch chat being like, this is the content that I want to see. And we did content that was like both what the Wannabes podcast is about, but also something that we haven't seen before. And I think that's really what was interesting, because like, if all else fails, like yes, it isn't perfect. Yes, there are ways to improve on it. But like for a first go around on something that no one else has done, I think we did a great job. And like, couldn't have done it without the editing team as well. But ultimately, I think my benchmark is that like literally like people enjoyed it, and was something that they've never seen before. And I think that's like kind of the two benchmarks that I go by.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. One, on the editing team, I could talk about them all day. I won't, but I can.
Mhm. They
Um,
also fit on Twitter, which was great too. That's a plus.
it also the fits on
The
Twitter.
videos the videos were short enough to fit on Twitter.
Yeah, that was by design, because I had a feeling Twitter would be like almost a higher impact spot for it. Um,
Mhm.
but the overall takeaways, as you're saying, yeah, it is really weird for me to try to reflect on this. Um, I do think that I maybe focused on what could be improved too early, too soon, and I didn't
Mhm.
give myself the kind of wind at my back momentum of. I did once or twice, like that first time we were in Discord, we're having a few drinks, we're watching the first few videos. That was great, and that was a lot of fun. Um, and yeah, I just think that I bungled the Meet the TOs stuff, and you came in so clutch with that final video, to really give it the space it deserved. But the amount that I had expected from myself was so high, because I know it has such legs. Like the idea was so sound, and everyone who heard about the idea and saw the trailer and saw what we did execute really enjoyed it, because they're great. And I think what I need to do is, instead of dwelling on what those mistakes are, like just be really happy that I made those mistakes all at once. And that
Mhm.
the second go around, I have everything written down. Like I know what those mistakes were. I have the systems in place to recreate what did work. And like this is something I think that, um, if the opportunity comes again, whenever that is, an online tournament, offline, whatever we have the capacity and the tools for, um, we could absolutely run this again.
Yeah.
100%. It's and yeah, I think it is what we do. It's like what we've been doing for a few years now with how we interview people and the type of stuff we are interested in talking about, and finding our own voice. And I do like that we were able to the great thing about editing is that I was able to express our voice without literally our voice. Like, we were barely in the videos by design, right? That was
Yeah.
always the point. But we were able to capture what we care about through the players and TOs that we had interviewed. And um that is a huge success. Like, that's a big
Yeah.
dub in my eyes. Being able to make our mark and be like, look, this is who we are and this is what we care about, and like, I hope you enjoy whatever the execution is. And then next time we get to get excited about, like, all right, we'll give ourselves a bit more time. We'll have an editing team off the rip. They got a lot out of it. I just remembered that I interviewed them for half an hour. I have that recorded, of a debrief with all the editors. And they were happy for the opportunity. And so, yeah, the amount of work that was able to be put in through these ideas that we had early on, and seeing it from the initial idea to the first execution to recovering from mistakes and adapting to the whatever we need to adapt to. Like, we did for a lot of those days, I did try my best. And I think maybe if you were say you were able to do your best, I can't fully relate to that, but there were a few times where I was extremely happy with what I was able to do. The one thing, and I think we should have a break soon, because there's just so many directions we could go from this. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But the one thing I'll end on for the pre-recorded content stuff was, near the end of the week, we wanted to do a crew battle video that would just kind of take it was like road to finals for the crew battle. And I was going to be at a wedding for it. So me and you talked, we were like, this is a Cinderella video. Like, this will be kind of a miracle if we could pull this off. You were preparing for the show. Did you enter bracket that day? You top 64 that day. So you were like
top 64. Yeah.
You're like, bro, I'm not fucking editing. I'm like, true. Like, that was just, you can't.
It was not. Yeah.
And I was like, all right, let me talk to some editors. I think we could pull this off. And I had like 40 minutes of calls with 3 different editors, just fully delegating and giving exact specifications of what this video needed to be. And we pulled it off. The editors pulled it off. And so even though I didn't do much work, like, myself, I didn't do the actual editing, it was a really validating moment of what I'm good at, which I think like creative director and creative leadership is something I could definitely use a lot of experience and improvement at. But it was nice to get a moment of like, fuck, that we pulled it off. Like, the ideas I had came together, and I gave good direction, and the vision I had for it came together, and it was all like that. It was just a blink, and the day was up. So I don't know. That would probably be my biggest point of pride from the week.
Nice. And yeah, kind of to end it off before the break, because I think the live show falls under content, and then we can get into bracket after the break and all of that. I'm really happy with how the live show went. I'm so proud of Nathan and Rags and Walt and Justin, aka Dark Gen X, and of course the man who called the entire result, Snoo. He called to St. Wizzy making it in. I think it was really great. I thought the first one, the rollback rundown, went perfectly without a hitch, and then the rollback Royale was amazing. And again, shout outs to Edwin for the amazing lightning round questions. Like, those were great. And like, I'm talking with him more about that because I Edwin makes the best question melee related questions in my head. Melee stats as a whole, but got to shill on Edwin as a good friend of mine. But lots of learnings. Like we had to cut half the show because we were just vibing so hard, and the questions were so good. We got Brandon to like come in and and put Nathan and I in our places. When we were debating between old NorCal and new NorCal. But I think lots of learnings. Like I possibly over prepared for the first time, which was really funny because we just had so much to go off of, and honestly, the crew kind of took it, but it was like a really easy pivot where it was like we took a quick break because of the stuff that you and your team made for it, and then quickly was like, okay, we're cutting half of like everything, and we're just getting straight into singles because it's already been an hour and a half. So honestly, lots of learnings. I was super nervous about being host, but I would 100% do it again because it was hella fun.
Yeah, we need to bring, honestly, if we just copy and pasted the exact things we had planned for this big one and just placed it in another event, maybe not a week
Yeah,
long event, but maybe like one live show and half the amount of content for a weekend.
yeah,
um I think all of the ideas we had were met so well, and the live show is the toughest one because you can't,
yeah.
you have to edit in real time. There's no time to like
Hmm.
pick and choose exactly what you want. And so I think um definitely completely nailed the energy, like getting the crew together, getting the source material to bring all the voices and have everyone kind of like show why they were chosen to be on the panel.
Hmm.
It turned out so well. And it was another thing for me because I thought I knew ways to like try to shift it. I worded it really badly at the time. I was like, hey, do you have time for notes? I meant to say, I should have been like, hey, I love this, how can I help? you know
Hmm.
um and obviously, like, I think the production team, they got screwed last second.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
not
I mean,
screwed, but something came up last second that like really made it more difficult than they had planned for
well,
the
they weren't the context behind that. I can kind of go in quickly. Is
sure.
that they weren't planning on doing the after show, and what I mean by that is it wasn't supposed to be Brandon Jade as a production team, but bracket ran so quickly that they didn't want to have so much dead time. But it was really supposed to be Melee Everyday, Flashburn, and Juno who was handling the after show. But because singles went by so quickly, instead of having like an hour and a half gap, they tried to run it live. But that meant that like we had to shift gears and also like get everyone up to speed with like after shows and different throws and like, okay, this is when we're throwing to the new overlay and all of that. So that was really it. Is they were like outright not expecting to do it.
Yeah, that's, I mean, with all that context, it was insane like how smooth it ended up being.
Oh yeah, it was amazing.
um yeah, and so these sort of things were like, I'll whatever. My reflections hardly matter. I wish I could have been a part of it. Is all I'm trying to say. I wish we could have hosted
Mhm.
it together. I think next time we
Yeah.
will for sure. Just like, so one of us at any time could be like speak, like one of us could be the speaker and the other one could be talking to the production team and like setting things
Yeah.
up at any time. Like that would be the move, for
Mhm.
sure. But yeah, it went
Yeah.
went really well, and we're 100% going to do live shows again. Like I
Live shows, meet the TOs, meet the players. Like I want to bring that back for sure.
Yeah.
And to kind of end it before we go to our break is I gotta say I love the question part about like how we ask the same question for every player for meet the players. Like I want to start doing that in like a smaller format for our 1v1s as distinct short format stuff because right, the big thing of season 3 is what we're trying to do is create more short formatted content, and I think that's a easy. That's a free throw right there.
Yeah, we gotta craft some for like some commentary ones, some player ones, some what's
Yeah,
it like
yeah.
to be a spectator, all that stuff. I love that. I definitely think we're gonna do that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, we gotta figure that out before our interviews. But let's go to a quick break and then come back and talk about bracket for a little bit.
Sounds good.
All right, welcome back everyone from our break, and let's wrap up the big one and then kind of talk about the rest of the week of our break. But we gotta talk about bracket JD because your boy made a run.
Yeah, yeah. I was at a wedding and went along. I think I the whole run. I didn't see any of your run, and I just checked the bracket afterwards, and I was like, just popping off. You know that bracket read the you get to look at your buddy's bracket. You're like, oh fuck, 3-2 lucky. Damn, wait, I gotta watch that shit. Uh, you know, definitely a heartbreaker there. I want to hear your thoughts specifically on that, but you want to take us through the whole run right here?
Yeah. First thing is that I'm definitely really happy about is I got shouted out by Melee Stats as like the top 5 upsets for pools and top 64, which you love to see. You know, they're hard to impress, I think, even though they're homies. And then I think pools I got a little bit lucky. I was supposed to, and I'm sad I didn't get to play Nut, but Nut DQ'd, you know, the Sheik from SoCal. And then I had to play Poppy to make it out. And that was game 3, but luckily I was able to clutch it against Poppy, who, you know, has been kind of rising up in the net play era. So I was happy about that. And I realized if I didn't win, I would have had to play Nathan, which is really, really funny in losers to make it out. So it would have been a team kill for sure. But uh luckily I got out in winners, which was the kind of the first time. And then I honestly into the next day, well, actually before I talk about top 64, I think I figured out my like routine to like prep for tournaments because like before Poppy and before top 64, I went for like a semi-long run, like a mile or two, and just to kind of get all of that out. And I figured out that that kind of really works for me. So I think I like really nailed down like my like pre-tournament routine and stuff like that, which is good. And then I was feeling a little bit nervous for top 64, so I actually hit up my good friend Tiramisu because he hit me up like when he was like close to breaking the his world record for Slay the Spire. So I did the same thing, and he actually gave some like really really good advice, and it was just a nice guy, like super sweet. But I'm definitely gonna post those DMs, but pretty much like the summary of what he said, which definitely gave like a big boost in the moment, was let me just pull it up actually because it was really, really good. He pretty much said, um, my honest perspective is that ab- about these moments is like that it's anything ah it's early in the morning, man. Okay, what he said was, my honest perspective about moments like this is that anything that happens is a good thing. Whether you're at the edge of a breakthrough to the next level, you don't know exactly which experiences you'll have for you to get there, and today will be a moment for you to find out one of them. If you freeze up, that needed to happen for you to not freeze up in the future. Same way you and I have choked a million upsets until we were finally able to get them. Just like the rest of competitive lives, give the bracket everything you've got today, and then be prepared to pick up the pieces afterwards and take the next steps forward. Something you are extremely talented at. So that definitely gave me like a super big boost going into top 64. So like whether I choked it against Lucky or not, I like was able to kind of go in pretty fresh and pretty like even kiltered. Um and then I won game 1. I barely lost game 2. He kind of like took it from me with an edge guard, and then I took game 3 and I was up 2-1, and then Lucky started to kind of figure me out, and then I think he deservedly won game 4 and 5. Like I got rocked game 4, and then I kind of bet it all on FD game 5, and he kind of ran away with it. So I don't think it was like it was game 5 for sure, but I think I really like had control for the first 3 games, and not, and then he definitely like was running the show game 4 and 5. I definitely wish I could have beaten him, but I think that like it was so he beat me so deservedly. It wasn't like last stock or anything that like it's hard to be like super mad at that. But I definitely want to beat him next time. And I'm working on the Fox that I'm actually going to do a IBDW lesson. I'm going to do a lesson with Cody today actually because he was watching that set. Cody was just like drinking on his stream and toggling through all of the sets, and he had some thoughts, so I reached out to him. He gave some tips and stuff like that, and then I decided that it might be worth it to do a lesson just to get his perspective because I don't think I'm really that super strong in the fox-ditto outside of like my punish game, and so I really wanted to work on that. And since he watched it and had some thoughts already, I was like, you know what, like it's definitely worth a try for sure.
Oh my god, dude! I need to watch that.
Hmm.
I need to ask if I could tune in or at least watch a VOD. Holy shit! Yeah, I think Lucky is the type of player that would come back. Like that just sounds
Hmm.
very intuitive of what like his strengths are. You know. Um,
Yeah.
cool. I mean, fuck. What else? What else you got?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Lucky played like super well, if I had to be honest, like throughout, but he just kind of figured out a few things, which I'll get to in a bit. Or actually, I could get into now. I played Zamu over the weekend, and he kind of like pointed. Well, one, he whooped me. Like Zamu's a killer in the Foxit. Like that's outright. He's like, I think I was talking with him yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm like top 50 in most matchups, but like top 15 in Fox-dittos," and I'm like, "That's fair." So I've been working on some of the stuff we talked about, which is like being a little bit more patient and like playing a little bit more closer to the unreactable zone, but not necessarily committing to anything. He put out a huge thread. I retweeted it, and it was like mostly what he told me as well. Um, but that was super helpful, and I think that's what Lucky kind of figured out game 4 and 5. But then I had to play Iceman in losers, and so I beat Iceman game 5 last stock, which I was really happy about. Though I'm tight because I almost reverse four stocked him on FD. So you know me, I love the Marth matchup. That's my bread and butter. So I was pretty happy with that. Um, and then I had to play the real thing, and that was my first set on stream. Actually, the Lucky set was just because Lucky was streaming himself, and I just didn't play really that great against TRT. I think like the first two game fives kind of had me. I don't want to say gassed, but it definitely kind of like I wasn't putting like my best foot forward out. So TRT kind of like being also a really good player kind of just made quick work of me with like a quick 3-0, 3 stock, 2 stock, 1 stock. So and that's kind of where my run ended at 25th at the big one. But I think it was like a pretty good tournament, especially because like my like with how much we were all doing and like how much was going on behind the scenes, I'm really happy with like how I played. And I was like planning on not like performing too well, but the fact I did kind of reminded me of like, okay, yeah, like we did a lot of cool shit for the Wannabes, but I still care about my player results more than that, to be honest. Like I'm like, oh yeah, like the wannabe content and like meet the players, meet the TOs, like after shows, like that's all cool. But my performance was like the best part for sure.
Yeah.
And I think like I went in that week just because like of knowing how crazy it was dealing with like family stuff as well. Like there was actually like a well-timed quote for this England player because it was during the Euros. And the quote kind of like set the tone for like how I prep for the tournament. So I'll keep that in mind like moving forward. But it was like when you're lacking a bit of confidence, the best way to deal with it is to train, get your mind free, and just feel good about yourself. The rest will come.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, like I don't have time to like prep for bracket and like all of that as much. So like let's just focus on like feeling good. And I think that's something definitely worth learning for the future because it worked.
I like that quote. Reading it at that time as well. I think the general pick me up I kind of took something from too. I was like, yeah, let's just focus on what's in my control right now. Um, and I like what Max said because that zoom out like perspective take on what's going on is just really useful. I think that is the the best like in the moment advice he could have given. Really
Hmm.
is like you know at least my the way I process that is this isn't the most important thing in the world. It is something you could be really happy with, but it's about like this is one step among it, and it
Hmm.
will be what it will be. And getting the routine down is great. Like Obviously, just because you ran doesn't mean you're guaranteed a good performance, but doing well, like if you had gotten that close and you hadn't had a good um, strategy going in, like if you hadn't ran, you would have been like, fuck, if only I had done what I know works, maybe that would have been enough to push me over the edge. So that feels good in my experience to prepare properly, and the losses feel a little less sour. You know what I mean? If you didn't screw yourself the day of. You also did a good job, in my opinion, like really separating, like you said, the content and the gameplay. You knew like I can't focus on recording anymore. Like this bracket's coming up, I need to prepare. Like you respected the game too much, not too much, enough. Some people don't respect it enough, and sometimes I don't respect it enough either. It's a tricky little battle, but I think shit, it was a good one to do it. How do you feel about online tournaments going forward, though? I mean, obviously they're going to have a place. Do you think you're going to be entering them?
I think, yeah, I want to keep entering them. I think it will make it easy to get like consistent like tournament practice like online during the weekdays and stuff like that. Like there was a NorCal local during like the summit final day, which I didn't go to. Like an hour away, I know like Umar and like Nathan went down there and Kevbot was there and stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely want to do more tournament stuff online. I think it has its place. It's like 100% worth it also. I think the question is like what competition will still be entering those online ones is like probably the biggest thing. So I hope it just stays competitive. And then we'll kind of see for what like NorCal locals hold down the line. I think that's like the one thing I'm like more nervous about just because it's like it's going to be new. Like it's like people I don't really know, it's new friends and all of that. And I'm all chill on Discord and at fest and stuff like that, but when it's for bracket, I'll be like they'll try to talk to me and I'll be like, "Hey, I'm prepping for bracket right now, so I'll talk to you later." You know. So I think I think it's going to be like a tough balance, but it will need to be done for sure.
Yep, yep. I want to hear how that goes.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot riding on it from my first tournament back. I'm gonna have big expectations for myself. So, and I usually don't carry as much as you on those tournament days. You're definitely more in
Mhm.
the zone for those brackets. But who knows? It's been so long. I got a
Yeah.
taste of good melee this weekend too, and so I'm feeling the urge to kind of make a few tweaks to the preparation, the everything leading up to it, but also just entering often. And if you're not entering an IR, like if the closest one is an hour away, I wouldn't do that every week. You know what I mean? Um, so online tournaments probably, honestly, they'll probably be more appealing to me also. Um, if I know there's going to be a IRL tournament to play coming up, like as a prep,
Mhm.
as a deliberate, like, all right, let's feel what good melee feels like, and lose to good players, and just keep that in my blood a little bit longer. So I don't know. I definitely feel like season. This is episode 2. That's so wild to me.
Yeah, it's been hella busy since.
Yeah, it has. I feel like it's already kind of a ton of things to look forward to. I want to. Did you finish out your bracket, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was then my bracket. I think like yeah, it's gonna be interesting going back. I think I might need to get also like one of those like audio splitter headsets so that I can like just play with the noise
True.
versus like the sound in the crowd. Because I think I definitely got used to that, just like wearing headphones while playing and stuff like that. So I want to like keep that up, and it's gonna be interesting too with like the NorCal thing to kind of like finish it out. Is because it's like all new players. Like it's
Mm,
not like going back and being like, oh okay, like I'm playing Kada. Oh okay, I'm playing JoJo or Smokey or
sure.
you or Smuckers. I think that's gonna be like different. It's like I actually don't know any of the
Probably
players
gonna be a
really
good
outside.
thing.
I get it'll be fun. It'll be fun. But West Coast is just so crazy sometimes. Like
Yeah.
it's like they just run at you and they're so fast and it's just like you gotta like meet up to that. So I think the playstyle pushes me out of my comfort zone more than East Coast understandably, but it's for a good thing.
Oh
but
yeah.
I'm definitely just like not excited to like have a Falcon knee across stage in like a disadvantageous position just cause, you know?
Ooh, you're wait. I hear a little bit of shit talk coming out right now. You
No, there's this
can't
Falcon
handle
from
dumb options.
Mexico. Well, no, it's really good Falcon from Mexico. Either Panther A or Panthera,
Okay.
and super aggressive, super fast. But I haven't played him in like maybe like 2.5 months or so, but I haven't beaten him either in like the TMT pools bracket or like ladder.
Hmm.
And he just kind of like nares at you and like calls your dash back all the time, and it's just like really funny because he kind of just does like the full distance aerials and catches and just overshoots every time. But he's really good and has like a really good punish game too.
Right. So he's just so fast that it works because of his execution.
It fast, but also like he just like overshoots all the time. Like no one in Tri-State does that.
No.
No one in New York overshoots like even once, arguably.
Hmm. I mean, yeah, we I'm thinking of Jersey of all the players I'm going to be playing in Jersey most likely.
Hmm.
Um I think there's one all the good players are floaties. There's
Yeah.
a good Spacey in there too. But yeah, I think I'm definitely a product of the East Coast. I mean, I'm definitely not like the typical trope, I guess, where we're not East Coast is not the Mewtwo King style. We don't all understand the game like that, but we don't play it like that aggro for sure. We like
No, not
our
a,
we like our punish games. We like our gimps too. Maybe that's a New York thing. We
I
like
think New
our
York especially, I've realized in my time, New York especially just kind of sits back more than a lot of other regions, I'd say.
we got the Kaon and we got the Beer Man.
Yeah.
Those are two famous spacey games. But all right, now I'm just getting in that zone where I want to go to a tournament. Like I want to carpool and talk like this on the way to bracket.
Hmm.
That's the mood I'm in for Melee. Let me let me cover this real quick. Let me knock this out.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I think I mentioned that I want to start a local.
Hmm. Hmm.
The first phone call has officially happened.
Oh, exciting.
We've broken ground on the rhetorical um, local starting journey, right? So
Hmm.
uh, this isn't breaking any news or anything. So you know Jeremy, obviously, Red Squirrel.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so him and I are going to be looking for venues soon in the area. We had one idea. He had one idea before that he didn't follow up on because this place is probably not making enough money. And we don't want it to be like we go there and then a month later it shuts down. But
Hmm.
we're gonna try to find a venue for a local in Rockland, and start getting some heads over there and start playing in tournaments. I think we get 6 setups between the two of us, and then we just kind of crowdsource and run a little bracket, do it on a weekday. That's it. Just some simple local stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, just tracking down the venues, obviously the big ticket item.
Hmm.
Once that's locked down, it's pretty much easy peasy. Instead of before getting players, but you just host one, hope that 8 people show up. You can do a round robin at the minimum, and then
Hmm.
you just make week 2 sick. And
Yeah. Is two still in Rockland?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay. Well, you got that at least.
yeah, we got some good top end players that we'll just make sure to lock down. Two Saint, I think Swooper might come through. Um,
Nice.
I think uh,
Probably you'll get like Wally or Nico if it's not on a Wednesday.
right, right.
Jojo, I'm sure.
I would definitely offer rides from public transit and help people understand because we do have a train very close.
Nice.
So I think it's a good spot. But we'll see. We have Jeremy,
Yeah.
the sixth streamer there, so we're gonna have a good stream, which I think is a huge part of it.
Oh yeah, Jeremy is like up there as like an S tier tournament streamer.
Yeah, and we'll just start real slow and do it mostly for the sake of doing it. Expect very little out of it. We don't have a name yet for it yet.
Hmm.
No name yet. Um, But yeah, I'll be checking in. That was just a quick little thing to market. This is where we're at. I'm excited. I think if I could get a local started near my house and just have something once a week to play towards, even if it's a, you know, the 70% of $45 is why we
Dude,
always play the game
that
anyway.
moment was so good.
Holy shit!
I watched that clip so many times.
Well, that brings us to Summit, does it not?
Yeah, no, it does.
Oh my god, dude, Summit was so crazy.
I know. I had my first fest also for Summit. I had like a
Yeah, me
2-day
too.
fest because Pilar was away, so it was hella fun for sure.
So okay, hold on. You hosted a fest.
Yep. Yeah, hosted a fest.
Who? Give me some players you were playing with.
Yeah. I mean, I posted in the Wannabes. Nathan was there, so
Oh,
Nathan
nice.
drove
How close are you guys?
down. They're like 45 minutes an hour away.
Okay.
But they had to prep for a tournament the next day, so they were down and they're fiends.
Yep.
So Nathan is like very close to Umarth, so Umarth was there as well, which was fun.
Nice.
Um, then Patrick, who is this Fox player from Berkeley, actually. So he's in the same town as me. And then I set my address, and apparently he's like only like 4 minutes away, which is like really, really funny.
Yeah.
He's like 4 blocks away.
Nice.
And then two old friends that I met like back in 2015 when I spent like a summer internship in NorCal. So my friend Tyler, whose tag is like Mental Gent, and then Dr. Jones, who doesn't really play Melee anymore, but he was one of our 1v1 guests early on, and now
Oh,
mostly
nice.
plays Rocket League.
Yeah.
So he's like super competitive with Rocket League, like as much time as like I'm putting into Melee, which is really cool, and it was fun. Like we're actually gonna work out on Saturday, so he's not gonna ask me to play Rocket League, and I'm not gonna ask him to play Melee, and that's how we're gonna keep ourselves on track.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
Dude, that's awesome. Fuck.
yeah. It was a 2-day fest. It was super sick. Sunday, part of the time we just went to it was like Saturday was like your quintessential fest, like just Melee, got halal food, stayed up till like 4, and then Saturday watched finals for a little bit, and then we went to a brewery, and like I made a hotspot and just watched Melee like at a brewery like 4 blocks away,
Nice,
and
dude.
drank beer for a few hours outside. So and then went back and saw the Mango win, the
Yeah.
Mango run.
Jesus Christ, dude. Was that with everyone?
Yeah. Tyler and Patrick were at my house. We were yelling. It just felt like a fest, honestly.
Yeah.
We grabbed some beers afterwards to celebrate.
Oh my god.
So
You have to, right?
yeah, you have to. It'd be disrespectful if you didn't.
Right.
I mean, it was yelling. Like, I mean, like we weren't really paying attention up until like the 2FD games.
Oh my god, the 2FD games. Holy shit.
Yeah. It was absolutely nutty. I mean, I have so many thoughts about the mango stuff. I'm doing like a lot of analysis on it because I think, yeah, he just does so many good things. But I like want to say like I know it's recency bias. I don't think it's recency bias, even if it's recent. But like that has to be like the best set of Melee ever, right? Like it's the highest gameplay that we've seen so far.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a reverse 3-0 in a like losing winners quarters losers run.
Yeah. Yep.
in a matchup that's like highly debated on Twitter against like saying like okay, maybe Royal Flush was cool because of like the Mother's Day Mango and how sick that was. But that went to game 9, that wasn't even game 10. And like, you know, I don't know.
Game
I think
10, dude. Yeah. Game 10, 2FD reverse 3-0. And the first game, Mango was up and lost it.
Yeah.
Like, he dropped the game 1 of the 2 sets and then went down 2-0, and you're like, oh, fuck, man. Like, this is over. Yeah. And then he wins game 3, and you're like, he's got to win 2 on FD. Then he wins 1 on FD, and then it's like, oh, fuck, it is on. And from then on, the next 6 games are just nutty, amazing. Legendary commentator's couch Holy shit! Like who
Oh no, I know.
was it? Scar, Toph,
Lovage.
Lovage, Brandon.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Like
Yeah.
just everything about it was so perfect.
Best casting for sure too.
They were all on their game as casters. They were just so
Hmm.
in the moment, like enjoying it themselves. You heard the house audio behind them too. Just as like a full spectator experience, it might be the first set I show people now. I honestly just being like, hey, this is the first tournament back has a bit of weight to it. This is
Hmm. No, it had weight to
definitely
it for sure.
definitely could easily be considered one of the best sets of all time. Like
Mango's first Summit win. Also, Summit, like I
first
know Royal
Summit,
Flush was great, but like
biggest prize pool of all time.
biggest prize pool. But like also like Summit is just, I mean, let's be honest, more prestigious than Royal Flush was. Like
Yeah,
not even everyone could make it to Royal
dude, it's
Flush. So
Summit.
like, yeah.
It's Summit. It's the Invitational at this point.
I know.
It is, well, it's literally an invitational, but you get the point. It's I mean, I'm still catching up on a lot of other stuff from Summit, right? Besides Mango's losers run, well, including the losers run. I haven't seen all the sets. I didn't watch it live. I was with family and kind of out to dinner, and that whole weekend was mostly that.
But
Um,
you went spoiler free though, right?
I went spoiler free. I woke up. I didn't go on Twitter for a full day, and I just looked up Mango Zane Grand Finals, and I didn't even spoil the amount of time. I didn't even see those 48 minutes. My brain thought it was 15 minutes. I thought I saw 15.
Really? Okay.
And so it made sense, and I was literally just like, all right, let's just see how this ends. But I don't want to spoil it for myself. Like
Hmm.
I don't know. It was the gods themselves, like just giving me slight urges not to look at the time. So I literally did not know how long this video was, what happened, and I watched the entire set front to back, and it was it fucking hit. It
Yeah.
hit like the whole thing. I mean, I definitely want to see some of the gameplay. I've been trying to catch up. Like I watched Mango HBox. I actually watched their set in pools
Pools.
on
Yeah, Mango
Friday.
just yeah, Mango well, that's the crazy thing. Mango wasn't playing well up until
It was a shit set, the first
Club.
one,
Yeah, it was a really shitty set.
and then
Mango, didn't turn up until he had to play Plup for the second time.
he.
Like all of Mango sets were pretty god awful.
So what was the order? He played Moki and then None, right?
Moki, None.
Was it
Yeah, it
Cody
was.
then Plup or Plup then Cody?
I think. Well, Plup was losers semis, so it had to be
Cody.
Cody. It was Moki, None, Cody, Plup, HBox, Zane.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
it's it's incredible, dude. And I think kind of zooming out a little bit, right? Because this is not something we talk about a lot. Like as our spectators, Summit's
Mhm.
99.9% of players are spectators on those. But there's something really rejuvenating about it, and especially seeing everyone on Twitter and on group chats, and like just whenever Mango wins, it's something special.
Mhm.
But this one felt, I don't know. This was another level, I think, from
Yeah.
like the shockwaves that it sent out. Just everything around it, fully delivering, is kind of rare. A tournament giving the full like the bracket was sick, the production value was sick, the context. I mean, fuck, the first big IRL tournament,
Yeah.
um, and just across the board, dude.
Prime HBox being back pretty
Oh,
much.
dude, HBox playing good again felt so good. I never thought I wanted to see that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad he didn't win too. It was perfect, but he was playing
No,
so
no, it was
good.
perfect. He couldn't have won. It would have been too
No,
sad.
yeah, that would have been like
I did
uh,
not want to see that pop off.
too. Well, that's the thing. I was happy just to see Mango Zane because that was a spoiler too. I'm like, what's Grants?
Yeah.
Oh, Mango Zane. Oh, that's fucking sick. All right,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Dude, him versus Plup in loser semis
I
was
watched that set.
ridiculous. But yeah, I think Mag I mean, okay, we don't even need to talk about it, but Mago's the GOAT, dude. Like there's no like Armada can hold that L, can be like no both best of time bullshit.
Yeah,
Real talk, like Armada's probably one of the most like accoladed winning players of all time for sure, but that doesn't make you the GOAT. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yep.
when Armada wins, people don't cry, okay? People don't cheer, people don't buy beer, people aren't hungover the next day, people don't like talk about it on Twitter for like 3 fucking days.
Yep.
Like that, like to be the GOAT, it needs to like transcend like just winning a major. And like Armada can have a better record than Mango and all that, but Mango's the GOAT. And also the longevity, right? Like Mango, I was reading the Melee stats. Uh Melee Monday, I think it's like morning Monday Melee or something like
Monday
their
morning
article.
Marth.
Monday morning Marth. Thank you, thank you.
Yep.
Uh but yeah, like Mango's been winning for over a decade. That's ridiculous. Like across so many, like each new like quote unquote best player in the world. There's just no way around that longevity.
Yeah.
So Armada can fucking hold it, is what I'm saying.
Oh man, coming in hot.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that. I saw there's a moment going around on Twitter, or was it Reddit? I think it was Reddit, from an HBox stream where it was like a moment between them where HBox is like, "Hey, bro, just want to let you know," and he like fist bumps him. He's like, "I'm ready to call you the GOAT." And Mango hugs him. He's like, "That's the nicest thing you ever said to me. Want to get
Oh
drunk?
really?
Let's go get drunk. Let's go get fucked up." Yeah,
Oh, you have to send that to me.
yeah, I'll definitely shoot you that way. It was nice. It was cool, and just shit, man. That what a summit to go to. We actually have uh, a interview today with Nick
Yeah,
Yingling.
that's exciting. I'm
So
really excited for that.
I need you, Will, to send me questions you want to hear because I want to make sure I'm not missing this opportunity. He's fresh off of Summit, freaking fresh off of it. So there's definitely a lot of things we could ask him, and you know it's cool to hear all the inside scoop shit. Talking to Toussaint when he came back for the first time, and just like him processing all of it because it's so much. Like there's a full media day, and then you like are in the one of the biggest brackets in the world with all the best players, and you get hammered all the time, and just
Well, for
cool.
two, also it was like more of a mental battle than anything else, which was really tough for two. I think. I mean, that's the interesting thing about IRL is it was interesting to see how many players kind of struggled with it, like you know, versus like it was just felt at home there. You know, like HBox felt at home, like
Mango.
LSD looked really good. Mango felt good once he remembered it. Zane didn't really have a problem. Plub looked like a fucking madman
Yeah,
that he
nice
would
seeing
take the
Plup
whole
back.
tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Plub Cody, dude, I hate
I
to
didn't
say
see
it.
that say yet.
Plub
Whooped them.
whooped,
Wow.
unfortunately. Yeah, no, it was crazy. And like some players like Toussaint, Moki, especially like just a lot of pressure. SFAT, right? SFAT looked kind of nerf IRL. But you know, it's the first one back. So this is just like initial things. This isn't like anything to read into, you know.
Agreed.
But I think, yeah, back to Mango though, I wanted to say, I, okay, this might sound really funny, but watching Mango and like trying to incorporate what he's been doing, like I've rewatched those sets like 2 3 times at the very least. I'm like hitting up Rishi. I think we're gonna like watch and do a little bit of like looking at his like dash dance specifically and like the way he moves and stuff like that because we're both trying to work at it. And I'm gonna do like another VOD analysis with a friend of like the Mango sets today. But it's like interesting because it's really funny that I figured like I don't know. I feel like once Mango wins, everyone wants to be like Mango. And I think that's like part of the Mango effect, you know? I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, but I'm interested in your tact.
Yeah.
I've never heard of someone actually analyzing the gameplay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still need to like do a lot more analysis, but from my initial analysis, like I mean, Mango's just so smart, and like the choices and risk rewards and the spacing he takes with his like wave dashes and stuff like that are really good. And like you can easily like steal what he does, and you just have to like learn how to incorporate them better into your tool set. But I think that like what's been really interesting as I've been working on my Fox as well after talking with Zamu is like I was like I find myself being like, okay, Mango does this, like I'll try that, or like Mango does this, and then I kind of have to like slow myself down and be like, all right, like you're not like Mango, which sounds like a really obvious thing, but you can definitely steal from him. And I think there's like that balance because like I feel like even like a lot of Falco mains, like one of the memes on Monday, like was like Falco players like wanting to play Fox for like the rest of the week and then going back to Falco afterwards, right? But like I don't know. I think that like I don't know, something about that win. I kind of get now what when like you see like players like Kobe Bryant, like when they get compared to Michael Jordan, they're like, yeah, like Michael's Michael. I'm Kobe. There's really no comparison outside of like that we play basketball. And it's so popularized in soccer too. Like, oh, this person is the next Aguero, this person's the next Messi, like it's hard not to draw comparisons in sports and dream to be like that at sometimes, but I think like the best players don't try to be like other players, which sounds really obvious, but I don't know, something clicked for sure. And so I've been just telling myself like as I've been analyzing Mango, it's like, you know, like don't kid yourself. You're very, very fucking far from being Mango, and you'll never be like that. But you can definitely steal some shit from him. And
Yeah.
so I've been kind of thinking about it like that way.
I would circle back to my last advice I gave you, and combine the two because I think watching a Mango set with a psychedelic drug
Hmm.
is its own like spiritual experience. I think what was the set I watched at Big House? It was definitely because it was IRL that it was special. So I'm half joking here, but there's almost a way to absorb that in a way that's kind of different, but it just kind of it's in a way that you're saying stealing, and that's 100% true. Like the techniques he pulls out that I'm assuming makes up on the spot or does very like just intuitively.
Yeah.
They're fine techniques to steal because his execution is good and he's using them as mix-ups and getting openings and blah blah blah. Like that is one part of it. But there's also the Mango effect, like you said, that you can't replicate, which is the fact that he came back 2-0 and started making
Hmm.
Zane feel like he didn't know what the hell was going on, making Zane feel lost and play worse, which, it's not like he completely crumbled. Obviously, it was a great game 10, but like Zane did not play 100%. That's what Mango does, right? Is he kind of opens you up and makes you not really know what the next hit's going to look like.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I think part of it too is like, okay, what's your version of that fit into the skills you've developed and the way you've trained at the game? Because Mango trained by just playing nonstop. His training partners and really good players, right? Like he doesn't do and that he does some analysis, but he doesn't like grind. Doesn't do solo practice, you know,
Yeah.
in the same way that you do, right? And that's just kind of the truth of it. So I'm definitely interested what your final takeaways will be after you've gone through the full process of analysis. It's definitely going to be positive, and I think it's just 100% the right move. Because god damn it, dude, how the fuck did he win on FD twice? Like,
I feel like, yeah.
ugh.
I mean, let's be honest though. I mean, like the FD thing, I get, like, but I think it's actually my funny thing is like twice on FD is cool. But just winning two sets against Zane is like even crazier in my head. Because it's
Insane.
not like Zane's bad on any other stages. Like everyone's kind of and for good reason, everyone's focusing on FD twice. But like, dude, he won on Battlefield, like he won on like whatever. It's hard to just win any set on
Yep.
Zane.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a Mango, dude. He
Yeah.
pulled it off.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is, right, like he's not playing like anyone else. So I think it sounds obvious, but I kind of finally understand now what that means, even if I'm like nowhere close. But I think people just try to replicate players for sure a lot of the time too.
Yeah, either consciously or not. It's if
Yeah.
something that impressive. I know I've been thinking about that set a lot. And
Hmm.
thinking about it every time I load up the game. Um, and then we'll see how long that kind of resonates for. Probably until the next tournament. Um, Definitely for a few weeks, but there's definitely good tournaments coming up. Galint this weekend.
Yeah.
There's the online era is not officially like closed. It's just the online exclusive era, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's not going to close, but I just hope it stays competitive. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So like I still hope that we'll see like other players in bracket and stuff like that. Like yesterday TMT, it was good to see like Blues Clues and Lucky and BBB and those players playing in bracket. So I think that was good.
Yeah, I think it will. As long as there's some stakes. Um, Ranked is something that I don't want to talk about now, but oh shit. That is still on the agenda as far as I know. So eventually there will be a new content farm set up in the Melee sphere.
Mhm.
And that's going to be entirely online. And yeah, it's like we're coming out of this stronger because Slippy didn't exist pre-COVID. It's kind of wild. I don't think there's going to be any downside, or I think it's going to be net positive no matter what. Certainly, it's not going to be nothing's 100% positive, but I think it's going to end up improving gameplay across the board. I think people are going to learn to adapt and understand how long they need to get back into a CRT zone.
Yeah.
If it's a day or if it's an hour.
Mhm.
Because delay based was so different. This is really not that different in terms of adaptation. So yeah, there's a lot to talk into on that front. I want to make sure we're covering all of our bases here before we close out and vibe out a little bit. We have 20 more minutes max.
Yeah, 20 more minutes max though. I'm down to fit a few games in for sure.
A few games.
A few games in.
Well,
Yeah.
let's make sure I'm down. But let's make sure we're touching all the topics. I think Summit was the big one, or the big
Summit
one
was the big one.
Summit and the big one.
Were the big ones.
Yeah.
I think like for me the only thing is like the Zamu set in particular. I'm like,
Yep.
or the Zamu like beating that I got over the weekend was really good because like I asked a bunch of questions. I think I like had like 7 questions and he wrote like several paragraphs on each of them, but it was really helpful. I think that like I'm Zamu's gonna be big. Like we should do a 1v1 with Zamu because he is gonna break out and we will fucking call it again. But overall, yeah, I think like that's been super helpful playing. I played with Beerman yesterday actually, and I played probably the best I've done in neutral, especially against Beerman because of like the Zamu stuff already, which I was trying to do with you as well. So, um, yeah, I think that's it. I mean, oh yeah, we played.
Yeah, we did play. We got a good hour and a half session in yesterday.
Yeah, that was a fun session. That was a tough session for sure.
Yeah, it was good gameplay. I think some of the things I noticed in that was one of the longer sessions I usually do online because I haven't been doing deliberate practice for a while now, but I've been keeping up on ranked, kind of just moving around mostly, keeping sharp. And yeah, I think the big thing is I could feel in the flow for a good 5 to 7 games, win or lose. I feel good about the games, and then sometimes, particularly online, I talked to you about this after. Sometimes if I lose a little bit of steam, it feels hard to connect with the person I'm playing with and be like, "Hey, I need a break," or I know I can ask it. I know you would be like, "Yeah, sure," like okay,
yeah.
But there's just something a little because there's no tournament reason to ever play more than 7 games, right? So it's like it's kind of just the sprintiness of maybe what I'm used to or what my like the bell curve of little a little before and not too much. It's it's a little bit of that. So yeah, just kind of figuring that out for next time. Like even if it's just a hard rule that I have with myself, I figure out 45 minutes on, 10 minutes off, something like that. I think that would do really well because then we have 2 strong sessions rather than one that's like takes a few to get going.
Yeah. I mean, at least with me, you can always just remember that I'm playing to to make the person say I need a break first.
Yeah, you also have a box.
No, but it's more of a mental thing.
Maybe,
Though.
maybe, but it's
I don't think
also
it's a. I mean, a hand thing for sure,
it's also
but like
not an important skill in my opinion. A long
you don't think
sesh.
so?
When will that ever be relevant in a
What do you
tournament?
mean? Well, I mean, just to be able to get used to like making adaptations and stuff like that.
Right, but an adaptation in a 7-game set is never gonna happen.
Yeah, but to be able to build the framework of making an adaptation, it's not going to happen in 2 or 3 games when you're not used to it.
No, but
So
what does a break do to what does a small break in between have anything to do with that? Like I get well, here's my point. I'm curious what your motivation is for wanting that. Is it an ego thing? Do you like the feeling, or is it good for you as a competitor? And are
what
you
a break
no
or
that attitude of I want to make this person quit before me? What is that in you?
uh
What's telling you there?
oh, because a few reasons. Like of course I like the feeling for sure. But like the other thing is like I've definitely been the one who has been on the other side of that. Like I play, if I play Beer Man or another really strong player and I'll be like, okay, I need a break right now. It's because like at some point, like eventually after a long session, you run out of ideas. You're kind of not really like thinking or watching the screen that much. And it's not like, it's like it's still worth it because like even if a tournament is like 2 or 3 games, you know, sometimes you're in that tournament for like 10 games straight, so like you have to like kind of hit a flow regardless. It's not like they stand alone. But I think the biggest uh thing is just like you need a refresher. Like you ran out of ideas, you kind of need to like go back to the drawing board. And and sometimes just taking like a 5 to 10 minute break lets you kind of like see the game in like a little bit less of a strained way, because like when you're playing against strong people, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Like it's tough, right? And it's very mentally draining, and so you do need like kind of a reset to be able to like kind of find your center and do the game plan, because I think it's so easy to like deviate from one's game plan over like a 45-minute hour session.
Right.
You're practically just like you have stuff in your mind like, oh, he's just running up and up smashing me type of thing, or like, oh, all he's doing is like staying on the side platform, or like, oh, he's just punishing me for every hit. I gotta like hit as hard as him. And so it's easy to deviate from that. The reason why I like pushing people to say that they do it is because a it's kind of like a test. For me, I like seeing how long I can go keeping the pressure on like that too.
Hmm.
And that's good practice in itself. But I'll be the first one to admit that, like, especially with like Beer Man and those players that know about it, like we kind of play for the break, to get the other person to be like, all right, like I gotta reset. And
Right.
it's like, and that's just fun. It just makes it a little bit more competitive. There's like not a lot of like bragging rights to it at all. It's more of like, good shit. All right, like I need a break
Right.
because you're fucking me up.
No, I've been on the other side of that too. I think there's a bit of a if you're let's say you're arm wrestling someone and you're just not tired yet, like you don't need a break yet. If you're just
Mhm.
beating them over and over, if it's just not a close enough contestment of energy, then there's that sort of like, all right, I wasn't ready for a break. I guess you need a break. So that's part of it. I think having a firm rule for me, sometimes I don't know I need a break until it gets like just worse. Like the melee just gets worse, and
Yeah.
and and that I guess what I'm thinking is what is the benefit of pushing those limits of endurance and longevity in this game, or is it better to optimize for every time the game is played it is at that top level of consistency? Because yeah, every 45 minutes sometimes it's just about like breathing for 3 minutes or stretching or standing up and getting some blood moving. That's a big SFAT thing, right? Is he has
Hmm.
that trampoline right next to him when he
Yep.
streams and he goes for walks, and the run before bracket for you. So what's the better, and I don't know, but what is the better habit to build, trying to play often through those hurdles, those kind of mental lactic acids that build up? Or is it good to establish the habit of like, all right, 45 minutes I was playing, let me just like walk around, let me grab a little sip of water, let me use the bathroom, then
I think it's
come
a
back.
balance. It's a balance, especially because we play spacies, right? You want to be able to have that endurance, but it's pointless if you're not playing well either. I think it's also a good ego check to admit that you need a break too, you know, because you're playing bad. Like to realize that you're playing bad and to realize the only answer is to take a break and not push through it is good practice also, mental wise. But
Well, I guess we're talking on the margins here. I agree with you, but your phrasing is what I disagree with.
Okay.
Like, I guess what I'm saying is before I start noticing it in my gameplay, because before I notice it in my gameplay, the gameplay is going to suffer. It's going to hit a few games. And so recognizing the early signs, like when it first starts to slip and it's not going to get any better by pushing through. That's the interesting, like, what is that? And can it be something that can be timed out ahead of time? Or is it just, I need a little break. I feel my body. I need a little sip of water and I need to use the bathroom. All right. Meet you in 5. Cool. Eat some almonds, fucking stand up, vibe check with everyone around you, and then come back and start grinding again.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's different for everyone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Like, I think there is no right answer for it.
Yep. It's just that's the new metagame here. And just closing thoughts. I'm sorry. I'm getting real comfortable. And I hope the recording doesn't pick up too much of my eating. But we're talking here at 11. Your boy went to a weed bar yesterday for his birthday.
Yeah.
I think some of the hunger is still over. But we're going to close it out. I am super excited for IRL to come back. We had a send-off with Big One that we were a huge part of, the sign-off to the online-only era. Then, I mean, Summit was incredible. And then Genesis 8 was announced, which I assume you have to be going to.
I already regged.
Yeah.
I'm in there. It's going to be interesting. I'm a little bit nervous. It's the start of the 2022 campaign.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. But, nothing I can do about it, just except for keep playing.
Keep playing, keep talking about it. It'll be sneaking up on us, but it's in, 5 months?
Yeah.
So we'll keep our eyes on the prize. Any closing thoughts? I mean, we're going to be talking soon, so.
I think that's it. Let's see. We got some interviews coming up, right? You're doing Yingling, Tusane Moki, hopefully. I got the Calvar and J-Flex coming up. Yeah, no, that's about it, honestly.
We came out a little bit leveled up, a little bit in that Super Saiyan. We could kind of hit Super Saiyan for a little longer now, I think.
Yeah.
Let's get it, man. I got to catch up on work, though. I gotta get to work.
I feel that.
Yeah. But we'll talk soon, buddy.
Yeah, we'll talk soon for sure.